Alright, so I got started on this thing before I decided, well, I guess I better record it. So I've already got this thing apart and started going through it, so I'm going to try to catch you up on it. This is a 1951 Emerson 659B as in Bravo. I think I said 1951. Anyway, it's an AM FM, I think it's 7-tube set. And so it's basically, kind of like an all-American 5 with no transformer, hot chassis set. Anyway, the issue with this one, this is one of those radios that I got from that guy who had dementia. It looks like he had started replacing the selenium rectifier, which I've already removed from the set, and put a diode in it. But I kept turning the thing on, the resistor. There was a resistor that was mounted back here, which I've already removed on the other side of this tube where that heat shrink is at. The tube with the cardboard, that 19T8 right there. Anyway, he had tacked a diode in line with this resistor, which looked just like that. When I took it out, it was pretty fried looking. But that resistor was starting to go up on smoke, and then this one, there was one under here that I've replaced with this big hunkin' 10-watt resistor here. It was a 22 ohm 1-watt resistor, and it went up in flames, so I don't have it. I think I threw it away. But anyway, so we had a short, and I was trying to figure out where it was coming from, and traced it down to the diode was just put in backwards. So I just went ahead and put another diode in it. They're cheap, and so I went ahead and put another diode in here and put that 100 ohm resistor here. But the B plus on that is running at about 130 something volts, so we need to, and that's after the resistor. We need to try to get that down a little further. That's probably going to be on a little high. But I had to go and pull the schematic, and I had to do some research on this radio to figure out which model it was, because there is absolutely nothing on the bottom here, nothing inside, so I had to kind of do a little research and figure out what we're working on, and I believe I've got it down to the right set here. But for some reason something's wrong. Later on I'll correct it, but for now I believe it's a 659B from 1951. Alright, so I temporarily got a 220 ohm resistor in line, and I'm getting pretty close to what I need to get as far as voltage on this. The schematic doesn't say a voltage on here, but typically around 115 is probably going to be about right. So I'm getting about 116 or so with 120 volts in. So that's about the resistor we're going to need. So I don't know if this one is big enough. I think it's a 2-watt, and it seems to be getting pretty warm, so we're probably going to need to go up to a 3 or a 5-watt. But anyway, it'll do for now for testing. And so we still don't have anybody home. It's pretty much dead. I'm not getting anything, but when I touch the volume control, let's see. We are getting some noise through the speaker, so that tells me that it's for the most part working from the first audio tube to the audio output stage, and the speaker and the transformer and all that are good. So looks like we're not getting just not getting a signal on the radio. So I'm going to use the signal tracer and see if I can track this down. See if we can figure out where the signal stops, or if it's even getting a signal at all. Alright, so what I like to do is normally just kind of go through the IF cans and see if there's any activity. So let's see, we got our first IF can down here. There's quite a few IF cans in here because it's AM and FM set. So you got a set for the FM and a set for the AM. So we're on AM now, so I'm just gonna probe those, and this is the second one, so let me start off here. Yep.
So little concerned about that.
Got a little bit of a signal there.
The problem is because we've got so much redundancy built into this studio here that
And a little bit of a signal there. So we got some activity here. Nothing really, I mean, it's not very loud, but it's some kind of activity.
Communist, a democratic socialist.
Nothing there. So the signal must stop somewhere around here. This is just another FM can. So we're getting some signal here. So I guess we probably need to look in this area and see what's going on. See if anything's coming out of this tube here. Okay, now we got a very small amount of sound out of the speaker. And I mean, it's just barely intelligible. But at least we got sound going through now. I found this resistor, or this capacitor here. It comes off here. It's kind of hidden up underneath that volume knob right there, that orange drop. It was grounded to this pin, so that woke up the receive. I mean, such as it is, but I wasn't getting anything at all. That somehow was bent down and was touching, so I moved that, and now I've got a little bit of sound. So yeah, you know, at least we're getting somewhere. Something's still way choked off, because I mean, although I'm getting sound, it ain't very much, and the volume's wide open. Alright, don't know if you can see that meter at the bottom there. Viewfinder shrunk a little bit when I did that. But we got a 470. Let's move this down a little bit, I guess, so it'll come in the frame here. Alright, you can see that meter right there. We got a 470. I'll show you right there. A 470 k ohm that comes from the audio, or this 19T8 is what I'm trying to say, and it's wide open. So yeah, that ain't supposed to be that way, so let's replace that and see what happens. Well, that's got a whole lot more volume to it. It still ain't great, but still isn't totally great, but it's a whole lot better than it was.
Goodbye. And don't bother me again. But she did. The third day she came.
Yeah, it's a lot better than it was. Alright, so we're getting 970, which is, you know, okay. That's about 40 miles away. A little staticky, it could be better, but you know, at least we're getting somewhere. So what I want to do is show you what we just did, a little bit more explanatory on some of these videos. I'm not always the best at explaining stuff, but I'm trying to get better on it. Okay, so we got our 19T8 here, which this is the plate of the 19T8. And this is our 470 k ohm resistor here that was open. This goes down to the filter capacitor, which is supposed to be a 40 microfarad. They got a 47 in there. That's fine. It's not a big deal. But anyway, so what, with this being open, we were missing our B plus that was coming from here that goes back up to the plate. And so we weren't really getting much amplification out of this tube. When I checked the voltage on this, it was almost nothing. So I knew something was going on. And this is part of the audio gain stage. It doesn't really matter if this is an FM or AM. The plate voltage should be, on this, the schematic says 40 volts, but I'm getting about 47 because I'm running it off of 110 or 120 volts instead of what the factory is 115. So anyway, we were missing this B plus coming from this line here with this being open. So now that amplifies everything a lot better and we're back where we should be. Hopefully that'll make sense. Okay, so now I'm going to go through the set and just check the resistors. It looks like these have already been, this thing's already been recapped as far as the paper capacitors. And I went back and checked those capacitors and they all look to be the correct values. So we'll just leave those in place. But like a lot of people, they, I've seen this a lot on these old radios. People will go through and recap them, but won't do anything with the resistors. And just like I, just showed, that this 470 was completely open, and it was causing the radio not to barely work. So I'm gonna need to go through and just kind of check these things and see what's up in value. Most of the time, these old carbon comp resistors, especially this style of resistor, has a tendency to, as they get older, to increase in resistance, and so therefore it will end up choking off a lot of the signal and voltages to the tubes and will cause poor performance. And sometimes will cause it not to perform at all if they go open. So I need to go through and check that. One of our issues here is this power resistor here. I've got one on order. I'm going to go ahead and go with a 180K, or excuse me, 180 ohm. For a power resistor on here. The FM on this thing, if you go up in value and the voltage drops too much, the FM will drop out before the AM does, which could be a sign of a resistor that's gone up in value and it's just not allowing enough current to go through. So that's why I want to check and make sure that there's no resistors that are too far out of tolerance on this. I found this 47K coming in at 86K, so yeah, that one's definitely got to go. Alright, this 22K, I think it was reading about 44K, and then this 1 meg reading about 1.5 meg, so those had to go. A lot of out of tolerance resistors in this set. Usually this style resistor here is usually not, they usually don't hold up very well. Alright, so here is the finished product. I have all the resistors changed, or all the out of tolerance ones were changed, which equaled to be about 80 to 90% of the resistors in here. Had all of these that were out, and when I replaced those, the FM woke up quite a bit. So I've tested the tubes and we're ready to go back in the cabinet. Alright, so I found the knobs for this radio. They're laying in a in the storage thing here. So it's actually in this drawer here. I kind of put all those knobs together, the ones that I could find, and kind of put them in that drawer so I could easily locate them. This radio, I found it in pieces. The chassis was in a box when I got it, and the cabinet was just stacked with a bunch of other cabinets, and the knobs were in there in that drawer, and the dial pointer was just in a bag somewhere. I found it, so I was able to piece this back together. But anyway, so the issue with this is there's no piece of metal in there to hold this onto the shaft, so I'm gonna have to make one. I hate robbing these things out of the other knobs, because then I'll need that knob and I won't have one. So I'm gonna take a pair of tin snips and cut me a little piece of metal to go in there. Alright, we got it back in the cabinet, got everything back together. I had to come up with hardware for it because it was all missing. I have no idea. I've got a drawer full of screws, and who knows what all that goes to. So just have to kind of match up stuff the best you can. So anyway, we got it working. It works pretty good on AM and FM. We're starting out on AM here.
Thank you very much, sir.
You say I'm worth this much, and the team says he's worth that much, and then the arbitrator decides, and it gets really expensive, and it can be...
The angel Lucifer falls in heaven. Right. Conversations with the biggest stars in the world. Listen today on your free iHeartRadio. 615-2112 for offer details.
Can you feel it? Hear it. And I feeling overwhelmed by our garbage payment and just...
Ordered. Yeah, you got that 100% right. The White Sox have got this. 2.0 is designed for coolness. It's engineered for comfort. And just when you thought it couldn't get any...
Because the crime is so bad. No one's going to be able to go...
Mark, move in.
Just kept the outside lane, and I just stayed on the bottom.
Another driver who is victorious at Talladega in the spring of...
For you today, my friend.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
Alright, over to FM. It doesn't have a internal FM antenna, so I've got to connect this thing back up.
Guy, in his own way, cut it out. Tells me it doesn't cut.
Tip of the hat, because trust me, it's tough to take a year off the road when you're in your 30s and get back into it. It's tougher in your 40s. Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, Compass, Wagoneer, new Jeeps up to $7,500.
But I'm still gonna wake up on you and me. I know that.
We pour it out.
I'll be alright, 'cause I got you.
Be a hunger, that's the key to it. A hunger for the...
Boss up over me, don't leave the keys in the door. I never put...
It takes an element of surrender. It's what we're called to
years, a legend. And you ask them, some of them anyway, what's Bob legacy mean to you? And I got to put the question to you. What does Bob Marley's...
All right, works pretty good. So there's the 1951 Emerson 659B, I believe, from 1951, AM FM, working pretty good. And you know, all this stuff, remind all y'all, all this stuff was picked up from a lady's house who said that it belonged to her husband. If I didn't come get it, she was going to throw it in the trash. So saved from the trash, I guess. So back working, and hopefully it'll find a home so somebody can enjoy it. Thanks for watching. And this is for all you people that used to give me hell about, even though I was using one, about not using an isolation transformer.